Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me on another episode of From Dirt We Grow. I am your host, Stephanie Kendall, and I am so pleased to welcome my next guest today. But before I do that, of course, I'm going to have to ask you if you could please hit me with the LSB, the like, subscribe, and bell. And of course, please share this with all your friends and family, your new favorite podcast. This one, of course. Share it with everybody you know, because it's going to be an awesome show today. Now, I have talked about acceptance of all people in the past, practicing open-mindedness to empower us. In fact, in episode 2, Stand for Nothing and Fall for Anything, I laid out the importance of embracing the unknown rather than fearing it. So I decided to throw a little bit of a curveball in here for us today by inviting Miss Kelsey Lynne, a psychic medium. Welcome to the show, Kelsey. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here, and you've been wonderful to kind of connect with leading up as well. So I'm very excited to be on your show.
I am so excited to have you. Well, let's start with just give us a little bit of a background, where you're from, your hobbies, or whatever you want to tell us about you.
Oh, sure thing. So I am just outside of Boston, Massachusetts. I grew up in Connecticut. I'm a big avid for yoga. I'm actually in my yoga teacher training now, which I will intend on kind of integrating in my business in the future. But I love like live music. I love just hanging out with friends, going to dinner. Like I'm a foodie. I love all different cuisines. Like put any cuisine in front of me and I will try it, And I have 2 dogs, so we do a lot of outdoor activities.
So you're just a pretty regular, normal person.
Yeah.
Do everyday regular activities like eat and stuff.
I do.
Well, I'm excited to hear some of the answers to my questions. So I'm going to let's get started here. Let's open some minds today.
Sounds great.
So let's start at the beginning. How did you know about your ability? What is your ability exactly?
My
talent.
main course is mediumship. So what that means is that I can directly connect with people who have passed in, spiritual presence, and I will relay their messages. So it's just like a translator. That's really where the word medium comes from. But things would pan out when I would receive kind of insight, whether it might be dreams or like premonitions or if I was just speaking to a friend about something, I was conducting a reading sometimes and not realizing it. They were like, how do you know these details about my life? And I'm like, I don't know. And then, so as I grew up, other senses were kind of rising, visual, feeling, more of that, like speaking that inner dialogue that connects more directly with spirits. And then, the best verification I had is taking it outward and being like, I think this is really something that I have going on, as I pushed it away a number of times in my life. And I actually connected with a doctor. It was the first person I came outward about. I was like, I don't know if I'm losing my mind or what is going on. And I explained to her, and she gave me a very unique opportunity and was like, give me a reading right now. And I was like, I can't just do that. I just didn't know.
She wanted a free reading. That's all. No.
Exactly. Right. But so, I dove into this 2-hour reading. Yeah. And I just gave it my all. And it was so accurate, paving together all of these things that just panned out and describing physical objects like left by our great grandparents. So it was very specific. And then things just started to kind of manifest from there.
I got to say, I know there's a lot of skeptics out there, but I am not one of them. And I think it's pretty freaking amazing, honestly.
Thank you. I always welcome the skeptics, and I understand it's not the most tangible thing. I mean, until you're somebody who is in the reading, and then I can validate it for you.
Yeah.
It's so abstract. You know what I mean? So I acknowledge that. And I welcome those types of discussions for people to just kind of come through and come forward and ask me any questions they might have. I understand that.
I know you hear things. I know you can hear, you're the medium. You're obviously relaying a message.
Yeah.
Do you ever see anybody? Do you ever feel anything? How does it work like that?
Yeah. So, as I continue to develop my mediumship, it could look a little different at different times. Like one sense might be stronger in a moment than another. And so I would say the ones that I've dove deepest into, because I have gotten the clearest messages from, I have hearing and feeling. And then the visual part of it is continuing to kind of grow, but have to continue just my own path. And so the way that the hearing works, it can be my own inner dialogue, just like how we have our own thoughts, repeating messages. And that's where it was confusing in the early years, right? Are these my own thoughts? But
oh my God, I was going to ask you that. I was going to ask you, like, do you ever get your own thoughts mixed up with spirits' voices or what?
Yeah. Sometimes to this day, I maybe do my own work and my own writing for myself. And I'm like, come out with very, very creative and this interweb work of art and verbiage and just kind of passion. And sometimes I'm like, I don't think I came up with that.
That doesn't sound like me.
Exactly. You're like, and sometimes I might use vocabulary and I'm like, I Google the word to make sure I'm using it right. I'm like, well, I don't even know that word. And so that's when I'm like, okay, I think I realize I'm getting insight. Then you can hear their actual voices start to dial in. And when you're in that space, and that's when the clearest the message becomes, right? Because if you think about it as like a game of telephone, it's not just like having to be repeated by, your own like higher self, we call it. It's directly, you're like, I'm so in tune right now that I'm hearing them say it directly. And that's when I love when that happens, I can hop into that space because it's the most fluid, it's the most accurate and more, not so like the accuracy, it's like the detail you'll get is just so good.
Are these people, are the spirit here? Like, are they all here? Are they in heaven? Are they, you know what I mean? Like, can you tell?
Our loved ones are always with us, whether that be heaven's by our side in another realm, if you will, is its own judgment call, right? But I will say to you now that your loved ones never really left, and they're actually always here. Like,
wait, are they like watching us when like we're in the shower and stuff?
That's so funny. You're not the first person to ask me that.
I bet.
Okay. It's not the same as being human. What it comes down to, everything I do and everything I'm voicing to you is all energy. It's just energy and it cannot be created nor destroyed. And when we pass, our energy is like transferred from our skin and bones to another form, right? Those things are so human. So when you say they're watching me in the shower, like they're not dialed in on you in the shower. But what it is that there's this sense of this presence and this energy. If you think about, I have a balloon with helium in it and I pop the balloon and the gas is now limitless, right? It's anywhere and everywhere. So that's the sense of your loved ones that have passed. It's like they're limitless. They are everywhere and anywhere at the same time. And it's not the same as some person watching you in the shower.
Yeah, I always wondered that. Like, can they see me peeing right now? And you know what I mean? Like, I always just wanted to know that. I didn't know who to ask, but that was the perfect opportunity. So
yeah, it is. It's funny. You're not the only person who's asked that. No, those things are just so human. It's not the same.
Tell me about some of your things that stand out to you, like thinking back. Share like your memorable encounters, like what sticks out to you as the most profound or moving experience, or something that funny that happened that stuck with you.
Okay, so I can go to a couple different spots with this. I would say first, I've had some really funny ones where you can really start to get the personality of the person, and they're just maybe making jokes, and it goes from being very serious and very, compassionate, and it's a very emotional thing. I just remember one person had lost their spouse, and the spouse, who was still alive, felt a lot of guilt for something that they had no control over, really. Like, if they were even around when the person had passed, they wouldn't have been able to do anything, and they weren't there physically. The partner that was coming through was giving a lot of sincere messages. And then at the very end, she goes, "What were you going to do? What the hell were you even going to do? You can't even do anything." And you have like the hand gestures and just like, "What were you going to do? You're nothing." It just was. And he starts laughing because he just knows his wife. And it's just like, I can see you. What the hell are you going to do? And like, they will drop some swears, you know what I mean? So that if there was someone who kind of used that vocabulary in life, and that brings a sigh of relief to the person, because truly laughter's healing, you know? I've also had some, more strenuous readings where typically the person who's passed, it was a very untimely death. So it's someone who was young. And the ones that have stood out also, they are people who have taken their own lives. And I will say this, I have had many people come through that have taken their own lives. And each and every single one of them have conveyed that if they were to have chose this life again, they would have not done it twice. And they're like, if you told me I needed to get help, I wouldn't have gotten help. I was very stubborn, but I would have taken it all back. So I want to convey this message because I think it's a really important thing for anyone who's suffering, because I receive the same message every time. It's like, I wish I spoke out. I should have gotten help. And if I knew what I knew now, I would have never done it. And they're at peace. And it's not that they're not at peace. It's just they have a vast understanding and clarity of themselves and who they were and what was really going on. And they can see now there's another part of them that wants to be there, that wanted to be there still. And that part is the strong speaker in the room when I connect with them. And there's ways out. There's ways to self-soothe and get help as well. So if anyone out there is ever struggling, I can tell you this right now. Please reach out to whoever you can, whether it be someone who is a support to you that you know, or maybe somebody new, like you need a new connection. And every time they say the same thing.
That's super powerful. I'm really glad you brought that up. As soon as you said, when you found people that have taken their own lives, my immediate question was there regret?
Yeah.
Every single one of them?
Every single one. And I'm talking, I have had guys that are kind of the more rough and tough that would never talk about their feelings in life. And then I've had, different females. So it's like all different sorts of people who are struggling with like gender identity at times, like every single type of person I have had. And it is linear. It is said in different ways because it depends on what they were struggling with. But each and every one of them are in line with like, there's not this sense of regret on the other side, because it's also like a human emotion. It's clarity. It's sensibility and accountability. It's like you can have people coming through that really were toxic in the person's life who you're doing the reading for. And they are not there to condone their actions as maybe they were. Maybe like the people who lived with them felt like they couldn't even talk to them because they're so defensive and they're so, egotistical or whatever it is. That is all out the window. And they come with like this essence of clarity and acknowledgement and self-respect and respect for the other people. Sometimes it's still painful for the person I'm doing the reading for. And they're like, okay, I don't really want to hear from them anymore, but I appreciate what they're saying. And they are like, that's okay. And they kind of obey that and allow a different connection to be made, because there's a lot of pain, still with people, even though the readings can bring some soothing light and peace, and tranquility in what's conveyed.
Wow. Like you don't carry your personality, I guess, with you?
You do. You have a personality. It's not that because they.
Well, I mean, if it's a toxic trait.
Yeah, it's like those stress. Like stress is so human.
Yeah.
They don't have stress. They have peace now. Like,
okay.
They have just understanding. It's like you when you're in your rawest form. You might have gone through something really severe, maybe growing up, maybe it's happening, in your adult life, and you need to acknowledge the severity of it and how it contributed to forming you. But what you also need to do, which is where a lot of people drop the hat, is you need to look in the mirror and say, how did I react? We cannot control what happens to us at all times. What we can control is how we react and relate to the outside world. And that is so huge. And I think that is a really big missing link today. And just it has been in our worlds.
Absolutely.
being able to look in the mirror and say, hey, you know, you've done stuff to yourself. It doesn't even need to be to other people. What have you done to yourself to grow, to try to control maybe things that were going on? And it wasn't exactly what you should have maybe done. You know, maybe it felt right at the time, but you realize now, like, I had weaknesses, and what your weaknesses are typical, could be typical reactions, but to ingrain it into our society that we need to react smarter, more methodically, by being more compassionate to ourselves and to others, you know?
Yeah, I love that message. And it falls completely in line with like my whole theme of my show. So thank you for pointing that out. That's a great message.
Thank you.
We had talked about skeptics a little bit earlier. I want to go back to that a little bit because I'm interested in hearing like how you handle. There are some obviously in your readings, right? If you have like a group reading.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. They usually come in the group where I get the most like full blown skeptics, you know, and then you have people who are just attending a party and they're like, what the heck? And so they're like, I'm a huge skeptic. I don't know if this is really real, but here I am. Let's do it. And I am not the one who chooses how it gets validated. This is not my project. I am the translator. So I sit back, and that's when people are like, you are great. And I see how heard another medium say this. Your loved ones might be saying, you were so great. And it's not me, right? It's your loved ones who have passed that are conveying this message to me. And I am just happy to be able to accurately depict it and be able to convey it. And so the readings will validate themselves, because we will talk about details of your life with this person. And those details aren't something that, one, with the groups, it's fun because like there's not even any potential time to prepare. Because I know that sometimes people ask that, they're like, do you prepare? Like, do you go online and look at people? And the first thing I always say, I'm like, absolutely not. Even if you like wanted to, you can go online and you could accidentally be researching like the wrong person. You know what I mean?
And then say all these wrong things. Like,
yeah. You're gonna say all these wrong things. That's stupid. I have literally never done it. I'm like, I will never do it, and I just let it kind of come to me. And so the parties is fun. You don't even know who's gonna walk through the door until they do, and then they sit down, and you're talking about things that they did in their life, like what they do for their job, things that this person, and then you like directly connect to who passed, how they passed, what they were like in their life. I love giving the hand, but sometimes I'll get hand gestures. You know, people might talk with their hands, or they have like certain ways about them. And when I start to do the hand gestures or maybe a nickname, that's when you just really see them. They're like, oh my gosh, this is them.
When you said that you don't feel like you're doing anything, like it's the loved ones that are giving the message just, you know, through you. But that's a very humble stance you're taking on that, because it's not everybody can do that. So it's not like you don't have the talent to be able to do that. You are a big part of it. And I feel like you should take a little more credit for that, because you're pretty awesome.
Thank you so much. It does feel really cool. Like I never take it for granted. And it's a very powerful thing, and I am very happy, and I just feel very lucky sometimes to be like, I can tell you what your loved ones have been saying, and it's still, to this day, I have a good reading or something, or I got a good message, and it still blows my mind, because I'm just happy to be able to connect, you know?
Yeah, I bet that it's pretty good feeling sometimes, huh?
Yeah, it feels like right. I love doing it. I love being able to raise awareness about certain things too. So like I will also discuss like mental health and in the grief process and all different things, addiction, like you name it. And I try to voice a lot of content about that and help people process, because sometimes like I have things going on in my life and I'm like, I've asked myself questions. Like I sit down and I'm like, what is this? And like, why is this happening? And then I get a response from like, you know, the other side, if you will. And I'm like, wow, that's really good. I'm like, that's really
just random out of the blue. Like a response to your thoughts and things?
Yes, yes, exactly.
That's
And you're
crazy.
like, okay, that's awesome. Thank you. And then I'll go on my social media and share it because I'm like, I can't be the only person that might be like stressed about this, that, and the other thing and just trying to navigate it.
Do you ever hear from your own loved ones?
Yeah, I do. I do. When the time is right. When I was younger and I was in my early 20s, I had recently lost my sibling, one of my sisters, and I did feel like I was connecting as a medium at that time, but I felt like I was kind of reaching too much. And you can't do that. Like, you have to stay in your lane. You have to stay in your lane, and we're here experiencing this world. So I kind of thought at the point of time, I was like, I don't know if I can like balance this one right. And then I also started to kind of question whether it was really happening or if it was not, you know what I mean? So I just put it to the side. And then as I got older, it started to come out more, but again, not necessarily specifically with my loved ones. And now I'm at a place where I connect with myself. If there are times that they need to reach me, whether it be exterior for me, or maybe they're kind of here providing some insight on my path, they'll come through. So if the time now comes where they're supposed to come through to me, they will.
Do you have any advice? What about someone that when you were young, what would you have liked somebody to tell you about what's going on? Or what advice do you have for somebody thinking about exploring this or thinking they might have the ability?
Okay, so I will say, I would tell them that they need to refocus their energy on slowing things down, because we can get caught up with the biggest hustle and bustle in our lives. And it kind of creates this whirlwind mentality, and it can create anxiety and stress. Sometimes people think they have OCD or they think they have ADHD, and it's anxiety or trauma. So slowing down, dialing in through meditation, I'm a big proponent of yoga, because really the definition of yoga is quieting the mind. It just happens to use postures too. And anything
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And that is how you strengthen your course, really. And that's not just in mediumship. That goes across the board for any mental health, right? And anything spiritual that you're trying to engage in. And it just throws you so much more peace and tranquility in your life. It will actually have an overflow into your relationships, because you will be a better version of yourself as a calmer and stiller one. That is my most powerful message to my younger self too. Kelsey, slow down.
That's good advice for anybody, really. So do you think more people have the ability that they know of? Like,
yes.
Oh, yeah? That was a quick answer. So tell me more.
I have people who are in my daily life that I'm like, you don't even realize that you are someone who can connect with with different levels of spirituality. And it's not to say that there's like millions and millions of people that can be mediums or be psychics, because it can look like different things for different people. But you can be more clairvoyant. You can be more of an empath than what like the traditional remark is, but they don't know because they're not ready to talk to themselves.
You got to be able to talk to yourself, huh?
Exactly. And again, people can think they're talking to themselves because they're recognizing what maybe ticks them off, what's gone on that has influenced them, as I was discussing before, but they're still not really engaging with themselves.
Where can we find you? Did you say you have a website or something, or?
Oh, yes. I have my website is www.kelseylynnemedium.com, and Lynne is spelled Lynne, and my taglines on all of my social media are at Kelsey Lynne Medium.
Okay, I'm gonna just go ahead and put that in the link in the description. So, or put that link in the description.
Thank you so much. And I've said this before, and I would say this every day of the week. I would rather people think I'm insane than think I'm ever trying to pull one over on them. And any person that has known me in my personal life would say that I am genuinely just trying to be there for people around me. I really care about people, and I really want that message to be conveyed in what I do. And that's why, I leave it open on my social media. If anyone ever comments a question, like, I'll make a video or I will make content to answer your question, and that doesn't come with a charge. So you have a lot of detail in your life about the social norms and how the presidency and other areas of this seemingly toxic kind of environment has instilled certain ways upon our society. So I'm just going to add a tidbit in my workings and how this can be structured in a way that I can kind of add value to that.
Please do.
I would like to just project to anyone who's nervous about what's ahead of us in life, and they're nervous about the way that the world works and how things are maybe going. I would point them to handle themselves first, because the better people that we become in our own right, and the better people that we become to ourselves, is going to have an influence over our inner sphere. And if you can have that type of influence over the people that you recognize to be close to you, it will start to kind of spread. So the detailed work about what it is I do is to heal yourself first. And for anyone who's nervous, anyone who feels like toxic things are underway, we have lived in a world where humanity has brought a lot of toxicity over time, and it has looked like a lot of different things, and a lot of core values and a lot of institutions have changed and implemented their own type of structure. And at the end of the day, we cannot, serve an institute that's not going to care for the human nature and our true selves. What we can do is have balance. And I would love to see more balance put into our infrastructure, because we are not just one-sided ever. There's dark, there's light, there's left, there's right. You know what I mean? There's just always two sides. And the more we find ourselves, the more we can see that there's more to the story. And so I would just say, focus on yourself and your life and your betterment, because that spreads.
Kelsey, a lot of your messages are really important, and thank you for pointing those out and for sharing this with us, and your story and your talent, and just thank you for being here. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much. You've been wonderful. It's great to speak with you. And if you ever have any questions in the future or anything you need, I'm always just a message away. It really was wonderful to speak with you.
That's great. I have your number, so.
Thank you so much. Sounds great. All right.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for listening today. This has been Kelsey Lynne with From Dirt We Grow. I'm Stephanie Kendall, and I will leave her info in the description, so be sure to check it out. And thank you so much again for listening. Yes.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, my audience. All right. We love you guys. Thank you so much. And we'll see you next week.